Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar of We Hate Pink. So tonight we are going to talk about social innovation and social. To introduce the topic and the speakers of this evening, I want to share with you some house rules. So first of all, I'm asking you to make sure that your camera is off, your audio is off, and then at the end of the panel, we're also going to have 15 minutes for you to ask questions directly to the speakers. In the meantime, you can prepare your question. When you hear something that is actually interesting, you can even ask your question directly in the public chat, and I will make sure that the speakers will reply to your question. So for anyone that is I can see that some of you, for some of you, is the first time that attend a We Hate Pink webinar. So I'd like to give a really short introduction about us. So We Hate Pink is a community-based platform. We were born like roughly 2 years ago, and what we're doing is basically increase the access. We promote leadership, female leadership, and trying to help women in their career development. We do this through our zine that is actually sharing stories of women in leadership, of women that are actually changing the status quo. We do this through our events and webinar. Before the pandemic, we used to hold live meetup. Hopefully, we're going to go back to that soon. And in the meantime, we are organizing 2 webinars per month. Lately, we are starting to collaborate also with creative agency and we design program for businesses that want to strengthen diversity and inclusion in their organization. So you can follow us on Instagram, you can find us on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, and lately we also launched our Telegram channel. But let's go to the topic of this evening. So thank you to, I want to introduce first of all the speakers. So we have with us Dr. Samini Shahim, which is the Dean of the Halt Business School for the London campus, Almudena Bentin and Maria Echevarria. They are both co-founders of Inhala Soulwear. Hello, everyone.
Hello, so happy to be here. Lovely to meet the other panelists.
So the topic of tonight is something that for me has always been quite, as a topic, is a quite interesting topic. Also because I've also always been quite involved in social issues, and We Hate Pink start like a social enterprise. But social innovation and social entrepreneurship, it's something that is gained attention, especially in the last 10 years. And a lot of people, they actually trying to create a change in the world through business. So tonight we're going to discuss with our speakers, what is a social enterprise, what is a social innovation, and Inhala Soulwear is basically a case study. So they're going to also share with us where the idea comes from, what they do, and exactly how the company is having a positive impact in the world. With Dr. Shahim, we're going to discuss how the Halt Business School is actually have and does a lot of things in like social entrepreneurship, not just in London but worldwide. So I'd like to start with you, Almudena and Mariana. So if you want, you can introduce what is Soulwear, Inhala Soulwear, and share with us your idea of business and where the idea basically comes from. Hello.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be here with you. This is Almudena.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mariana. So we're going to just like see some slides of what basically Inhala Soulwear is. And then we have we're going to cover all the information. So, yeah.
It was born in Peru. We designed here. It was with the initial idea of bringing something new into the sector, into the leisure work sector. There was need for innovation. There was need for quality. There was need for education and awareness. So we were truly inspired by that opportunity. We produce circular, ethical, and eco-friendly yoga wear in the mystical lands of Peru. We'll get deeper on why I say circular, ethical, and eco-friendly. That's an overview, because there are three different, in the end, definitions that englobe different things. Our fabrics, which is linked to our main mission, which is ocean alleviation. We're both born and raised in Peru, coastal lands, and it's very close to our heart. Ocean pollution and alleviating all of the pollution that we're seeing. So 80% of our nylon comes from recycled fishnets, ghost fishnets recovered from the ocean, and 100% of the cotton we use is fair trade organic. So sustainability in textile wise was the most important part of our business. We also, throughout the years, because obviously at first we couldn't do it all, we had to put priorities on what were our main sustainability goals and move forward with milestones. We implemented finally this 2020 our zero waste program, where we upcycled all of our excess fabric. None of our packaging has plastic, or our processes. We work in close relationship with suppliers to try to educate them and share all of these values of reducing and eliminating plastic and waste and toxic materials, and endless list. But that's a bit of what we do, right? Always innovating, always trying to see how, because sustainability in the fashion sector, it's really difficult. Saying that you're 100% sustainable right now is almost a lie, if I may say so. So there's always a trade-off. There's always places where you win, innovations that really work out, and then there's always space to get better, right? To let the whole sector innovate together with you, because at the end there's a bridge that's not always met, right? There's always a gap on trying to get full sustainability, but that's our mission, right? Always trying to innovate and to get better, to trace our supply chain in full. Every step of our production, our confection, manufacture, sales, distribution, logistic is being monitored.
And yeah, so basically, we talked all about the technical, which is a little bit what we need to differentiate from fast fashion, because right now what it's making hard for us, like, to compete is like educating the public and make them understand that, like, we create smaller capsules with higher prices, and it's a collective education we have to still work on. So basically, for us, it's very important to have a tribe, and it has been like since the beginning that we would partner with the suppliers, and also with the artists that designs with all of the things. So basically, we don't do that we do it in-house, but we collaborate with them, like, collection after collection, so we can also change and like dip in different cultural and artistic vibes, that there are. So yeah, basically that has been the journey, and we're excited to share it, because it's a little bit magnetic right now, and when we talk about it. So yeah, I mean, we're happy to be here and to answer all the questions and explain how it was for us,
how the journey has truly been.
Yeah, exactly. So what we were like saying before, when we had a chat with you before the event, is like, it's so important when we are talking about social innovation, what is the actual meaning of social innovation. But without going by the book, I would like to know what social innovation means for you. And this is a question that I ask you, Samine. I think you're on mute.
Okay. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. Sure. First of all, ladies, thank you very much for that brief presentation, but albeit very inspirational. Well done. What an opportunity, and what a difference that you're going to make. I think, for me, social innovation is innovation that is social, both in its process and outcome. So it's not just about, looking at the idea and the inception of it, but it is the journey has a social element to it, as well as the outcome. It's a kind of journey of economical and psychosocial empowerment, right? To be able to generate value primarily for society in comparison to people who might get into entrepreneurship as for individual gain or organizational gain. And I would go as far as to say social innovation is the intersection of altruism and capitalism. And it's driven by passion, by potential, and by purpose. We call that the three Ps that drives social innovation. And in many ways, there isn't a massive difference between social entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship in general. But the skills in using entrepreneurial and general commercial tools and techniques is the same. But it's the intention to be able to develop, to fund, and execute solutions for sociocultural and environmental issues and challenges. I think that's what sets the difference to me. If I can quote one of our professors at Hult, who's an expert in this area, Professor David James, he says, I often think of social entrepreneurship as a subtle revolution in the form of wealth redistribution, okay, which is a very interesting way of looking at it. And it's focused on, is really on helping people, the quest for business karma, how to give back in terms of helping others. And it's often about, an entrepreneur might be more focused on their dreams, whereas social entrepreneurship is really about empowering and realizing dreams and desires that have been neglected or ignored for a period of time.
Amazing. And I completely agree with that definition of like creating something that actually have an impact for more people, more than being like an individualistic kind of dream, which is beautiful. And sometimes from a dream, you can actually enjoy an amazing brand. And some of brands are coming from big dreams. But like this new trend is fantastic because it's actually interesting to see how sometimes businesses can actually get the role that sometimes have been given before to association or no-profit organization. So it's a really interesting movement that involve more and more businesses. Mm-hmm. So what's for you the meaning of social innovation, Almudena and Mariana?
Going back to the initial point, right? Like effective altruism, how do you merge philanthropy and actual capitalism and make a systemic change? So social innovation is presenting solutions that solve a problem, but not just an individual problem, but where people realize we need to keep acting as single individuals of growth and profit, but also include nature, include each other, collaborative sharing. So it's all of this inclusive model that we forgot a bit. And that's what Inala actually means. It's not just cool leggings made from recycled fishnets. It's much more. It's working in collaboration, is knowledge spillover, is presenting, thinking always of crazy ways of how to innovate and change the status quo, right? Like stop thinking about just monetary success, but being decisive, but also thinking of what is the effect that you're doing or that you're having on the world. So I think, and it's a pivotal moment, right? It's sustainability and social clash. It's that it's most vulnerable, right? People cannot cover their eyes anymore. So it's so important that we address what it truly and acknowledge that there's entrepreneurial means and being social innovators, but entrepreneurs following the more conventional path. So we're really excited to see this huge move, this next gen move of innovation.
Yeah. And when we are talking about next move, I know that, for example, the Halt Business School in London is working a lot towards that. So how big is the role for the academy that the academy play at the moment in social entrepreneurship, Sam?
Sure. So let me start by telling you a little bit about our mission statement.
Okay.
Everything about our mission statement has to do with what we're discussing here today. HALT aims to be the most relevant, most innovative, most diverse, most global business school that makes a positive impact on people and places. So right from the first day at university, even before, right from the first time anybody reads anything about HALT, you understand that this is in our mission statement. And, at HALT, our mission statement really is not a nice poster or a postcard that we send around and we may preach about. We actually practice that within every single fabric, every single decision that's made in relation to the curriculum, in relation to the simulations, in relation to the people who come and speak to the students. There has to be an element and a sort of link back to this mission statement. So it's very, very important to us. Then if moving on from that, we have to do our part. You see, as an educational institution, we have to do our part to plant the seeds of change by raising awareness on every course. And every course at HALT Business School has to have an element of ERS, which is ethics, responsibility, and sustainability, and elements of DEEP. So looking at diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. And so whatever course we design, the first thing that we work with the professors, we say, okay, where is the ERS element? Where's the DEEP element? Because no matter what subject you're talking about, from accounting to leadership, you've got to plant the seeds and broaden the students' knowledge about world atrocities, injustices, things that are happening in the world that many of our students may not even have had known about before coming to HALT. Right? So we plant those seeds to be able to open the windows to the many sort of unfair and unjust systems of living and models of reality that exist around the globe. I think we also play a critical role in the support and guidance of knowledge sharing, as the two ladies were referring to, because social entrepreneurship, like any other area of business, is one with issues and challenges. And those need to be anticipated, and those need to be addressed, right? They need to be thought about, they need to be talked about. And it may, an idea of social entrepreneurship may be conceived in the abstract, in the intangible, right? And what we do is take that idea and help with the students and the people who are working in those spaces to be able to put structures around it, to organize it, to teach them functional models and a clear roadmap when it comes to design, implementation, execution, as well as scaling up and expansion. So things like monetizing the solution, scaling up, building transitions, leading teams, partnerships, managing we sometimes forget that it's not just the economical and the socio-political aspect of things that one needs to focus on. If the teamwork, if the interpersonal skills of the individuals are problematic, it can fall apart very quickly. And then more specifically at HALT, there's two things that we depend on heavily, and we return to them time and time again. The first one is what we refer to as the HALT DNA. And the HALT DNA is made up of 9 specific skills in 3 particular competencies. And these include things like self-awareness, critical and creative thinking, presenting and communicating effectively, how to work, within a team, collaborate, effective teamwork, and to be able to inspire productivity. And these are the ideas that are related to the HALT DNA. And again, they're injected within every course so that we can emphasize those points. The second thing is the growth mindset. Okay? Carol Dweck's growth mindset. We have to, again, if we only focus on the external ecology and not go into the internal ecology of our own psychological barriers and limitations, then you could have the best idea, you could have the best partnerships, you could have the best network, but if you are your own biggest saboteur, And if you sabotage your journey by being too anxious, or being very cautious all the time, or negative and pessimistic, or having a fixed mindset in that every time you hit an obstacle, that you don't know how to pivot around that obstacle, that you are too stubborn or rigid when it comes to feedback that you may receive for others. Because remember, you could have a phenomenal idea, but it might be good for you and your friends and family, but that wouldn't be social entrepreneurship, right? We need to be able to make a greater and grander impact. So the whole DNA and the growth mindset, we definitely focus on that right from the beginning, and we make sure that within every course that there's emphasis on this, to be able to build those vital skills. Besides that, you may have heard of the HALT Prize.
Yeah.
And right, the HALT Prize started about 10 or 11 years ago, and we're super proud of it, not because it has the name of the university and the HALT family is involved, but because one of our MBA students started the HALT Prize. His name is Ahmed Ashkar. And it is now one of the biggest, it is one of the biggest social entrepreneurship platforms and initiatives. It is in collaboration with the United Nations, with the Clinton Foundation, and about more than hundreds of universities take part every year when there's a particular topic. There's a topic, and these teams at different universities work on this topic, and then they go through various stages. They're shortlisted to 3 final teams. Those teams go to the United Nations, and the prize is $1 million for them to be able to implement their ideas. And there's guardrails around it, but you can see that this is what is born out of a university like HALT International Business School.
Amazing. That sounds fantastic. And it's actually quite interesting to see how a business school start in a way like has this forward thinking, because sometimes when you're talking or when you're thinking about the relationship between academies and the real world, there is a little bit of gap there. But like the fact that you as a business school, you're actually thinking forward and you are meeting what are the needs of the actual market that is going in that direction, because there are a lot of researches, in particular the Cone Communication one, that show that 87% of consumers today are looking at companies that buy product, and they prefer to buy product produced by companies that actually have a social impact. So they actually respect the environment, or have or respect the relationship and the gender. Try to avoid and reduce the gender gap. So it's not something that is so important just for business, but also for consumers. And this is a really good news for business like Inala, or millions of business that actually have a social impact, or trying to have a social impact. On that level, I wanted to ask you, Mariana and Almudena, what is the inspiration and the story behind Inala Soulware, and how it came to be? Because we all have, like Dr. Sahim was saying, is like you can have a great idea, but then there is a difference between an idea and a sustainable business. So where your idea came from and how you make it then sustainable.
Okay, so basically everything started, I'm gonna tell the story, in a yoga festival in Costa Rica. And she was actually doing her master's in sustainability. So she was so into sustainability, and we were both starting our yoga journey together, and we were in a yoga festival. And one day, after a lot of meditations, we started thinking that there was a gap in the market that offered high quality yoga wear that is sustainable, back in 2017. So we said, okay, we know that fashion is the industry that is contaminating the most. So we understood there that our mission was to offer a more like guilt-free product for that sector. So yes, it was hard to start because we needed to offset all of the operation contaminations and everything, but we did it, and yeah, now we're like super happy about the outcome. And it was hard, but I think that we took something valuable out of it, and we created an alternative product for a market that was not being attended in that time.
Amazing.
If you think athleisure the market is growing so fast, and it comes from petroleum. It links us, it connects us to this heavy dependent on fossil fuels, the activewear industry, because nylon comes from oil. So for us, it started as something energetic. I was into sustainability, into yoga. We saw the need. Then we were like, we have to create something big. What is the impact that we want to have, right? Apart from helping alleviate ocean pollution, dreaming big and starting small, and then try to scale fast. It's probably the best piece of advice I've gotten, because our dreams were huge. And then we realized that it's incredible to dream, but on the practical level, you need to start building your own pyramid of success, right? When it comes to such a new sector of sustainability on the activewear industry, right? It's the second most polluting on one side, the textile, dependent on fossil fuels, contaminating waterways, creating excess production, unethical conditions, to keep enumerating more. But on the other side, we also have the problem of all the plastic there is being disposed in the ocean. It's 8 million tons a year, approximately. So connecting back to that eco-anxiety that I was having at the moment, doing our masters, becoming yogis, trying to get some meaning out of our lives and see what was our purpose and what drove us. But it was hard to build from the dream to the real product, right? It was like, how do we eliminate the plastic? How do we not waste one scrap of fabric? How do we reuse everything? How do we speak to our suppliers and actually convince them not to send us things with plastic or use chemicals? How to go out there and still be able to offer prices and to be able to go to market, right? It was always a trade-off also of that, of business and purpose, understanding that it was a game and that the journey was going to be rich and challenging. But we've done incredible shifts, and it was together with our own personal development, right? It's so important to understand that if your inner ecology is not strong, what you put out in the world and in the universe will have no long-lasting effect, because you're not connected to that purpose. So it's been part of the journey as well with Inala.
Yeah. I mean, we've also both come from entrepreneur families, so it was quite like we wanted to find something like to do that like literally like connects to us. So yeah, it was like pretty awesome. It was like we knew it straight away, like that's our purpose, and how much like we can do a bigger impact if we work collectively instead of like going individualistic and like trying to do things ourselves. So that's what we've been doing, and it's been working.
Trying to share knowledge, try to get to other entrepreneurs, try to always be connected, right? Not thinking that alone, if I find the magic recipe to do athleisure wear 100% sustainable, I'll be successful. If there's a raise of awareness and consciousness in this sector, and people start really finding alternatives, it's just on one side is the obsessive amounts of consumption a year, the amounts of disposing of clothes. So it's a big system change, but it also needs to come from the producers of clothes. Yeah. They need to put up better things in the market, and it's possible because we've been doing it. So if two young entrepreneurs with just a passion can find the ways, I cannot imagine with this huge $1 million activewear companies could do. Yeah. So like the ball is in their court, you know.
Yeah, but then it goes back to the redistribution. There will be, because to be a massive consumption company, it will be hard for them to shift 100% to sustainable. So that's when the redistribution will happen, when we will need to understand that only like massive consumption is not the same as sustainable. There has to be a big change when they need to understand, okay, how are we going to position ourselves? Because for sure there are going to be like smaller sustainable companies by core that will like try shifting the category that we participate right now in. So it will take some consumers away from us as well.
Absolutely. And on that level, this is like something that is always being, for me personally, with We Ate Pink as well. So sometimes I ask, what should the innovator strike, and because there is a delicate balance between stick to your vision and adapt to a change word. So you want to stick to your vision because you have this vision, you want to create something that can actually create a social change, but how you can adapt that to a change word. So this is a question for you, Dr. Sahim.
Sure. So can I just also add to the ladies' points?
Yeah,
what they were saying? I think you're so right when you were saying we all have to play our part. It's everybody is responsible. This is not each on the shoulder of just the people who are being creative and innovative and greenhouses and champions of change. The people who are still purchasing, or they're demonstrating a demand for products and services that aren't in this space. We all have a responsibility. And then the people, I think we have to arrive at a point in which our thinking is evolved enough to understand our cognitive biases as to what stands in the way of understanding the differences between how important this is, how crucial it is, and our insistence to continue in the same dysfunctional patterns. It's very interesting. The evidence is there, the data is there, it stays staring us on our face. And I'll share with you a quick example I had, which is slightly indirectly related to this. But one of my colleagues was going out during the pandemic. They would go for regular walks every day, and as to do her part as a way of walking in the streets of London, they took a couple of bags of garbage bags, and they were collecting garbage from the street. Just as they were walking, they said, we might as well do something meaningful, and we might as well give back to this beautiful city that we live in that's so vacant at the moment, except that there's garbage in different places. You won't believe it. There was people who stopped them and said, what are you doing? Are you littering? Are you throwing garbage into the streets? I mean, imagine the sort of, they would sooner think that someone would engage in littering and polluting than doing something productive and positive for that environment. So it's fascinating, the cognitive biases that are involved in this. And then going back to your question, Rosella, about how do innovators strike, right? A delicate balance.
Because sometimes, it's more about, like we were talking about, how you stick to your vision, and at the same time you have the need to adapt to a change word. So it's like actually stick to the vision and relate as well what is the reality of the market.
Yeah.
So from your point of view, what's the delicate balance, and how you should create, how you can do that, like by stick to your vision and create that relationship with the market?
Right. Well, first of all, I think the ladies would agree with me that this is a balance that needs to be achieved, maybe not right at the beginning. It may be raw still at the beginning, but then after its inception, it has to be front and center constantly about everything that you do. You can't drop the ball in one area and pick it up in the other, right? So there's got to be deliberate design and intention to making sure that you stick to your vision, but at the same time, adapt to that change world. I think also when you move away from a self-absorbed perspective to a more others-oriented perspective, and you realize that sticking or being rigid or being stubborn to the purity of your idea, while perhaps it's not really making a difference in the world, could be a waste of time. So we need to be agile and we need to be adaptive. But of course, the challenge here is when comparing ideal to reality, right? So there could be very ideal sort of plans and visions, but having a dream or having a vision, or someone like Simon Sinek who says the why, the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, that can't just be logical and justified to you and the people who believe in your idea. There's got to be a bigger global understanding and acceptance of that particular entrepreneurship and initiative that you're getting involved in, right? So what is the point? You can be passionate and have the purpose, have a very deep and nuanced purpose, but in order to turn it into reality and to make sure that others buy into your why as to this is important, again, it's a constant balance between the two. We can't force it onto others, the ideas that we have, and we have to be pragmatic. And there are times when, sticking to the purity of your vision can hold you back from progressing within this idea and making an impact. And so it's very important to know when to pivot. It's very important to exercise critical thinking in being able to take in the data and the evidence and to understand how this serves your initial idea and your vision and how it may enslave you. And so to move away from variables that may box you in or to put you in a less advantaged position is something that needs to be, I think, front and center on this journey.
Yeah, it's definitely, and sometimes that is when you actually realize that you cannot stick to your original vision, that you understand as well better what you are while you are in the market, because then it sometimes are the customer themselves that give you the answer that you are looking for.
Agreed.
So observing what they need, what they are looking for in order to create the right garment or the right service. So in your situation, for example, did you face that with Inala when you started? Obviously your product was probably quite different. I was reading yesterday that if you actually, when you look at the first product that you create, if you are embarrassed about it, it means that you are on the right direction, because if you're not, it means that you weigh too much. So how was your first product, how it looked like, and basically did you evolve from that, and how you did that?
Like Dr. Shaheen said, we had to choose our battles, right? We had to start from a battle that we could win, that it could validate our business idea first right away. And then we worked on milestones, right? Okay, what is the first thing? Okay, textile, fabric. The fabrics need to be the most sustainable possible. Okay, what is the next milestone then? Okay, plastic. Let's eliminate first all of the plastic that we can control, and then we move downstream to our suppliers. Packaging, and then we went to trying to look for the most zero waste, bio source packaging possible. Our idea shifted from we wanted to be fabric and packaging sustainable to we want to be zero waste. We want to actually have a product that you receive and there's nothing that you need to throw away, and it's a quality legging that will last endless amounts of years, that you don't have to buy 5 of them. And then to the point where we're actually now discussing to transform in a near future business model and become locally sourced and distributed. So close our e-commerce, close shipments. But for instance, that's a weak spot we still have now, especially in these digital times. We cannot close our website for worldwide shipping. But the shipping emissions for us are right now the last piece of the jigsaw for us, for instance. So it is a constant struggle because you constantly need to be rethinking, okay, how do I do this better? There's maybe an eco way. There's definitely a greener way. I have her calling me being like, I have nightmares with all the little scraps that we cannot sew them anymore into our straps. What do we do? And I'm like, we'll find a way. And it's not just at the immediate satisfaction, true impact. I think we've seen out of experience that it takes time. True impact, changing and building a new business model that it's not out there yet. Yeah. Being competitive with a very hostile industry. It's also scary. So our first product, we cover our eyes. But for instance, we were never ashamed. We were like, we're going to sell it until it's over because we have a zero waste policy. So it's every little mindset comes into play, like the off-season movement. It's like, oh, no, we cannot have massive 70% discounts. So we have to build new strategies. targeted specifically to customers that are sensitive on sustainability. And that was initial, because it was the easier way. Okay, we target those who are already convinced, and that we don't have to explain why there's a surplus on eco-wear. The margins are ludicrous. Like, there's a difference from like $3 a meter of conventional nylon to 17. It's that different. But so obviously margins suffer, right?
Can I just add to what you're saying? I think the cases of social entrepreneurship that I've seen that have been most successful, similar to yours, is when social entrepreneurs are able to self-critique. They're before anybody else criticizes them, they hold up, the card of like, look, I'm awake at night having nightmares about this extra. And I loved what you said at the beginning about setting up expectations, of we are on the path towards that kind of sustainability. And we hope to achieve that at some point. But it's great when there's self-awareness, there's organizational and initiative awareness, and that you are your first critique.
Otherwise you get discouraged pretty quickly, because it's not easy trying to be an innovative entrepreneur or having something different, coming with a new competitive advantage that it's not still perceived as competitive advantage, although in the future it will be. Yes. But it's a struggle, and you're constantly doubting, and you have to accept that. Always reset. There's always a different way. Just keep going. Okay, this doesn't work. This is not eco enough. Okay, let's move forward. But yeah, I think it's crucial that we accept that it's a growing industry. It's a much needed type of growth, because it's changing also the way we think. Like, let's go back to old ways, but rebuild on more sustainable ways.
Right.
And on that, for example, when you were talking about the perception of the market, you enter a really sensible market, which is a little bit like when you are talking about big topic like diversity and inclusion. If you come in as someone that is promoting those values, you also need to be really careful. So did you ever had like some sort of like critique from your consumer, or for people that approach you and saw you on social, because when you enter the world of environmental friendly community, you're always going to find a green warrior that is more green than someone else, so they actually make that a mission in their life, so they're always going to try to spot the mistake and spot the problem in your program. Did you find that?
We have never encountered that, and we're grateful, because it means we're doing something good, which is being transparent with our customers. We're always being tricked and deceived by greenwashing everywhere, because I understand right now everybody wants to be there. Everybody already wants to be green, but it's impossible. Like, we live and breathe trying to add a daily new habit and try to be better, but it's not that quick. And everybody, a lot of because we're ego driven, and that's how we've been building the basis of our society. So of course, it's easy to say, yes, I'm green, yes, I'm doing, yes, I'm changing marketing ways and wordings. And I understand it's people giving hope, or maybe trying to advance on where they want to get, and be like, okay, this is where I want to get, so I'm disclosing it now, hoping that I will get there. It's a transition, and everything is it's welcome, but it's important that you're transparent with your process. Like, this is where I'm not sustainable, and this is where I am sustainable, but I'll eventually get there. And that honesty with your customer is the strongest bond you can build, because they cannot come back saying like, hey, you lied to me. They're very smart, but we did find the customer, with our customers and with our very responsive and sensitive communities, that they need and crave education. Back to the seeds that you were talking about at the beginning, right?
Exactly.
You don't know. Why would I change? Why would I choose your leggings instead of my amazing Lululemons? Like, they really
exactly. And this is what
of course, they don't know.
Yeah. I was going to say, when you said sometimes your customers tell you, but there are many times in which they don't even know that they need something different, and that you have to build the platform of of the why this is important. Like the message has got to be so compelling and have that sort of influence and impact. I think it can make or break a social entrepreneurship project if the messaging isn't correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, if you going back to what you said, that it's is a trend at the moment, like the greenwashing, like the pink washing, you know, all company wants to be diverse and inclusive. Every company wants to be sustainable, green sustainability. But then when you look at the data and look at how they operate in the market, is very far from being sustainable or being diverse and inclusive. So before, Dr. Sahim, we were talking about the approach that the Health Business School has with social entrepreneurship. Do you think that there is such a thing as an ideal age for a social entrepreneur, or can then a startup bug strike you at any time?
100% anytime. And I have been part of initiatives, platforms, organizations in which I've heard 9-year-olds present social entrepreneurship project. And I tell you, they had 30 seconds to pitch, 30 seconds to pitch. And some of them had about 1 minute, some had 3 minutes. And these 9 and 10-year-olds, they were given, they had to pull a straw and they realized, you know, who was going to get what time. From 9-year-olds to, 95 and in between, right? I think it's more about this journey, this evolution of adaptation. And we wrongly assume, when you think about Charles Darwin and the survival of the fittest, it has nothing to do with strength. It has to do with your capability to adapt, to adjust, to be able to collaborate with others. And that's what ensures your survival and the survival of all of us and our planet. Let's not forget about our planet. And therefore, there isn't this expectation, Rosella, that everybody arrives at evolution at the exact same time. Some people might have different influences, cultural, familial. I hope one day we see social entrepreneurship in the curriculum right from kindergarten at school. And so this is something that is, nurtured and ingrained in them. And people arrive at these sentiments at different ages. A friend of mine who has been producing leather bags for 15 years and doing very well producing leather bags, about 2 years ago, she flipped to a whole separate business in a social entrepreneurship project in which she's using a type of pineapple material to produce her bags. And I can't tell you, instead of welcoming her and celebrating this and saying that, well done, that you've made this transition and you focus, I can't tell you the number of haters that she had to face and being told, you forget it, you've made your money on but what's wrong with that? We might wake up at different times in terms of this journey. And I think that you are never too old to dream. You are never too young to have impact. And if anybody has that sort of itch, they need to scratch it and to be able to explore it further.
Definitely. So just to go to the end of the panel, I want to ask you, thank you, Dr. Samish, that was so inspiring, actually inspired me as well a lot. So to you, Mariana and Almudena, one piece of advice you have for people wanting to start a social business now. So they have an idea. What's your piece of advice?
So for me, it would be like really to connect with your purpose. So be sure of what's the change you want to be part of. Like tackle one thing. There are so many things who can help: animals, planet, people, children. And yeah, be community driven, because at the end, that's the future. That's what we're going through.
Don't forget to have fun.
Yeah. And be authentic.
Exactly.
Yeah, be authentic. Like, I know the trends and you need to follow trends, but when you found your authentic spot, that's when everyone puts their eyes on you. I think that's very important.
And that's when you also like light up as a Christmas tree, right? Like where you operate at your most blissful form, when you're really connected to that you want to do. I remember when we were starting our journeys, and we were like Mari said in the beginning, are coming from entrepreneurial backgrounds. We obviously were a bit curious about the corporate world. She went and tried it out. I went and tried it out, and we were like, this is not our purpose. Not everybody's supposed to be on the 5 to 8 job, the 8 to 5 job.
5 to 8, I love that. Where's that? Sign me up.
That would be an after hour, actually. Not moment.
Exactly. I was like, not everybody's supposed to be on the same model. So I think that's a beautiful piece of advice that we followed. Like, don't feel you have to be part of that mold, but it is important that because of your dreams, you're not consumed in the vastness of them, that you really take the time to connect with that purpose, and that change that you want to connect to, because you might want to do so many things,
and execute.
Yeah. And
Priscilla, it's mind, body, and soul, right? It's not just one element operating alone. And with others, the connection you have with nature and with your people determine, I think, the course of your business tremendously.
Mm-hmm. I love the fact that you were talking about the relationship with the community, because this is another thing that is super important at the moment. Is like the role, for example, of the influencer, how I was calling like till 3-4 years ago, is not relevant anymore. People want to be part of something. People want to feel part of the brand. So create a community-based kind of communication. It's so effective, and I think it works much better than anyone that comes with a massive ego talking about their brand.
Yeah, agreed. You know, oftentimes we also forget the fulfillment, not only the positive impact it has on people and places, but for the person who's involved in that project. You know, as the ladies were alluding to, there's a Romanian psychologist in the 1970s, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who talks about the concept of flow. And the concept of flow is when you're doing love, and that's the moment something that is challenging and that you love touch with time, place, what you're doing, you're totally immersed in that project. And it's a beautiful sentiment. It's a beautiful way for people to live their lives, rather than, you know, the 72% who hate their jobs and dread Monday morning.
Yeah. So true. Yeah. So I want to ask the audience if there is any question. So if anyone has a question for the speakers, we are really happy to answer that. And just going back to what you said to Sahim, I so much agree with that. And when you were talking about the experience in a corporation, we all went through that. And at some point, it's actually something that you realize, is this something that I really want to do in my life? And when you are able to do that switch, I think is amazing. Because you actually start to become true to yourself, and you know exactly where you're going. And then it's probably your life can become more difficult, but at least you know that you're happy, or at least you're going in the right direction.
Yes, agreed.
So, well, no questions. So everyone was pretty happy with that. Doesn't have any question for you. So, well, thank you very much, all of you, Mariana, Almudena, Dr. Sahim, and I hope to see you face to face sooner or later. I mean, in Milan, in London, hopefully in Peru. So thank you very much for your time, for your energy, for your knowledge, and I hope to see you in real life, and have a lovely evening. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending the webinar, and I'll see you at next webinar that is going to be on the 11th of March, and it's all about sisterhood in the workplace. Thank you. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Rosella. Thank you
very much. Thank you, Rosella, and thank you to you for all the effort and work that you do in this space. We're grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To everyone.
Space to people like you. Thank you.
Female power.
Exactly.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.